Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another product spotlight. Today, I have two amazing guests with me. I'm John Seliga and Chris Robson. Hello, gentlemen. How are you?
Good, Tracy.
Good. Thanks for joining me. Today, we are going to be talking more about Enlist E3 soybeans. But before we do so, John, can you tell our audience a little bit more about yourself and your role with Corteva Agriscience?
Sure. So I am an area agronomist with the Pioneer brand side of Corteva Agriscience. And I support a territory in southwestern Ontario, essentially from London to Sarnia to Windsor. And I support the sales reps in that territory, help them position products, do service calls with customers, and essentially attempt to help customers get the most out of our products.
Yeah, so John and I actually cover the same geographic area, so kind of Windsor to London, up north to Sarnia, but I work on the retail side, so working with our retail customers on the Corteva chemical or crop protection portfolio. So, helping them understand the herbicides, the fungicides, insecticides that we use, where they fit, how best to use them. And then because of the Corteva connection, certainly supporting the Pioneer or, seed network on their, needs to help them transition to Enlist, right?
Perfect. Can you tell us what is unique about Enlist E3 soybeans and why growers should be growing these beans?
Well, from my perspective, Tracy, I think what's unique about the Enlist E3 soybeans is the fact that our company, Corteva, has decided and dedicated all their effort towards transitioning our lineup to that base technology. I'm going to let Chris talk about the about the technical background on the herbicide side of the business. But in terms of the soybeans, they are basically our top performing, most elite germplasm that our breeders are working with. And for the last probably 4 to 5 years, we've been working hard at transitioning our entire pipeline over to Enlist E3. So these will be Corteva's highest performing soybean varieties that will be in the marketplace. The U.S., of course, got a little bit of a head start on Canada with this platform, but we are quickly catching up.
Excellent, Chris.
So yeah, outside of the yield that John talks about, it's always kind of first and foremost in growers' minds. The real exciting part for me is certainly the chemistry side. So kind of fun. We had the chemistry register prior to the Enlist E3 soybeans kind of hitting the markets. We've had a really good experience kind of with the Enlist chemistry kind of, prior to the launch in Enlist soybeans. But I do like to back up just to make sure that the growers understand kind of when we say E3, what are we talking about? So Enlist E3 beans are tolerant to glyphosate, 2,4-D, but specifically a new 2,4-D called 2,4-D choline, which I mentioned we've had at the marketplace early. Very similar to ester and 2,4-D ester, 2,4-D amine, but it's a different salt that we use. So it gives it some really unique properties, which is cool. And then the third mode of action that the E3 beans are tolerant to is glufosinate or Liberty. So, making sure that they kind of understand when we say E3, what the heck we're talking about. But what gets me excited about the chemistry is that now that we've moved to Enlist or 2,4-D choline, is that you can use these products safely in crop, which is different when we think about some of the other herbicide, packages on the market. They're very good chemistries, but they do lack some safety when you go to use them in crop specifically. So now we have 3 modes of action that you can use in crop safely, which is key because when we think about weeds that may escape, so we talked about fleabane, giant ragweed. And then as we get into it more and more with water hemp, growers are going to need in-crop options that they can use safely to manage these hard to control weeds. So what's neat is the 2,4-D choline has no temperature restrictions. So if you need to spray, in the heat of the day, you're perfectly on label. It is really, really reduced volatility. I'd love to say never ever, but, highly reduced volatility. So when we talk about volatility, we're talking about, gassing off and moving and then landing somewhere where you don't want it. So the volatility is highly reduced. It's incredibly safe. And the other nice part is when we talk about controlling weeds in crop, you can spray, the Enlist products all the way up to R2, so full flower, and then Liberty up to R1. So it gives you late options that you can use. And then the other really, I think, big differentiator in the system versus other trait packages in the marketplace is that in crop, you can safely use glyphosate and 2,4-D. So if you need to come in and clean up grasses and broadleaves, that gives you an option in crop. The other significant difference is that it gives you Liberty, which you can use in crop to control weeds, but you can also use Liberty and Enlist 1 or 2,4-D choline together as a really, really significant in-crop rescue option to kind of clean up, anything that may have escaped. So, I mentioned water hemp, and that's where that really starts to kind of come in handy because water hemp emerges all year long. So if your bean crop doesn't canopy in, if, plan A didn't work and it keeps raining and, things get away from you, the biggest difference in this system is that you have in-crop options that, that you can use safely to control whatever might have escaped.
Perfect. Another question for you guys. Let's talk about standards. How do you and your team ensure Enlist E3 soybeans perform to the highest standard in Canadian conditions?
Sure. So I look at this question from two standpoints or two sides. First and foremost, we as Corteva have on-the-ground testing here in southwestern Ontario. We're very fortunate to have an effort through our research department that allows us to evaluate all the experimental products that our plant breeders are working with. And because of that, in your backyard type of testing, we have the opportunity to see these products firsthand in our conditions, in our growing conditions here in southwestern Ontario. And that really allows us to select for the best performing products that have the traits that we need. Soybean cyst nematode is a big part of our production zone here in southwestern Ontario. We have things like white mold that we deal with, a number of diseases and factors that play into how a product performs. And with that on the ground testing, we do get a really strong handle on our products and what we're going to release into the marketplace to the customer. Now, the second part that I would consider happens to be our route to market, which is through our sales agencies and our pioneer sales agents that work with our customers directly. And what I would say there is those pioneer agents are focused 100% on pioneer products, and they work in concert with the agronomist and with their territory managers to number one, understand the products that they're selling. And then number two, they're in the field and they're looking at the products with customers, helping to support the growers in getting the most out of their products. So it's we like to refer to it as positioning products. And I really feel that our sales agents are some of the best in the market in terms of being able to properly position products so that the customer gets the most out of that genetic package.
I love it. Thank you. Chris?
So from the chemistry side, we do a ton of education, sort of go around, talk to growers at winter meetings, making sure they understand kind of what they're getting into when they decide to make the change to the Enlist system. The first thing that we always preach, I talked about the Enlist chemistries and how exciting they are and how growers can use them in crop safely. But the biggest piece I think any chemical rep is going to talk about is the need for residual chemistry when in any soybean system, but certainly in particular when we talk about Enlist. So, want to use good residuals to keep weeds small, first and foremost. So the chemistry is going to work that much better. So the smaller the weed, the more effective the chemistry. But the other piece is, we talk about fleabane, we talk about water hemp, like resistant weeds. We need to be throwing more multiple modes of action at these weeds to keep them guessing, keep them effective, and keep weeds at bay. So as great as Enlist is, if that's all we're going to use over and over and over, we're going to develop resistance and have a problem. So, good residual setup, first and foremost, clean up as needed with some of the chemistries that we talked about. There's a ton of information on the website. So if you go there, if a grower is, curious, there's a bunch of training that they can access and have a look at that as well. We've developed best practices cards that we send out to email, Pioneer reps, retails alike. Talks a lot about like nozzle selection, water volume, basically trying to give them all the best practices that when they go to the field, that hopefully they can have a high level of success, when applying the product. The other piece that we do spend a lot of time as a chemical team is talking with our U.S. colleagues as well too. The acres in the U.S. have gone substantially, through the roof last couple of years. So it's nice to be able to, contact them and learn from their mistakes, if you will, and apply those best practices as a learnings back here in Canada.
Wonderful. Thank you, guys. This has been a fantastic product spotlight question. And I'll put some links in the spotlight here in the show notes. If producers have questions, product questions, just like you said, where can they find that information on the website? And I guess the second question would be, if they are interested, how do they find out more about buying the product?
Sure. In our part of the world, obviously, I would direct them to their sales rep first and foremost, and their sales rep should be able to help them with on the ground questions specific to their area. And our sales reps all have a good relationship with both Chris and I, and we would be happy to further assist. You can also check out the website. We have a lot of great resources on the website that cover our products and the characteristics of our products.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That Corteva.ca is certainly there. There's an Enlist Canada website, so if they want more information. And then we do have a really neat kind of Corteva product app that they can download on their phone too, that would give them lots of basic information. And then certainly on the chemical side, we do a lot of work helping the Pioneer reps understand it, but as a crop protection team, we definitely spend a lot of time with our retail partners as well too, trying to keep them up to date on everything. So
thank you guys so much for your time. I appreciate it. Thank you, John. Thank you, Chris.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Tracy.
Awesome. And you guys in the audience, thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.